So our lead this hour comes from soccer. Say what? Well, it's actually from Italy. Milan, to be exact. A soccer player there who is known globally, actually spent some time in the United States, has criticized politically outspoken athletes. But a generic statement is not enough, so you have to make the story have legs, you've got to bring LeBron James in, and that is what has happened. So the legend known as Zlatan has come out with a statement. If you did not see this, maybe you didn't hear it, perhaps, let me give you the brief synopsis. So Zlatan, I believe his last name, I'll try to say this properly, Ibrahimovic. Yeah. What's his name, Roberto? Ibrahimovic? Zlatan, though, right? I got the first
Zlatan.
name, right? Zlatan. All right, so Zlatan believes that LeBron James and other athletes, he was asked about athletes being politically involved and all that. He said they should stick to what they're good at and leave politics to politicians. So he's now 39 years old. He's been around the sporting world for a long time. He's with AC Milan. He publicly criticized the mixing and matching of political opinion and sport. He did this on an interview with Discovery Plus Sweden, where I always go to get my sporting news, calling it a mistake to get involved. Now, just to give you the audio so I'm not lying to you, you'll hear it for yourself. As Warner Wolf would say, let's go to the audio tape. Here is Zlatan giving his side.
Yeah, I liked a lot, and I mean, he's a phenomenal in what he's doing. But I don't like when people, when they have some kind of status and they go in and they do politics at the same time what they're doing. I mean, do what you're good at. Do the category you do. I play football because I'm the best in playing football. I don't do politics. If I would be a politician, I would do politics. That is the first mistake people do when they become famous and they come in a certain status. Stay out of it. Just do what you're best at because it doesn't look good.
All right, so that's his opinion on that. And the key parts, the money part of the quote was the beginning part of that. Zlatan said, he was referencing LeBron. I like him a lot. He's phenomenal at what he's doing, but I don't like when people have some kind of status, they go and do politics at the same time. What they're doing, do what you're good at. That was the money part of the quote. So, thumbs up or thumbs down on Zlatan and his point about athletes and politics crossing over. So I'm going to give this a thumbs up. I'm giving this a thumbs up. I've got Fettuccine Alfredo, Sherwood Forest, and Battle Cry. And we will connect all of this together. Now, first of all, it would be disingenuous to say that we are soccer people. Roberto is my producer. I'm not. I'm not a soccer person. I watch it when the World Cup's around. I'll check out soccer, trying to find some content. But I have heard of this guy. I'm not completely clueless. This Zlatan, I've heard of him. I played for the LA Galaxy, I remember a couple years ago, and they spent a lot of money trying to hype him up. The MLS did, because he was an international soccer star, and they were trying to get people that weren't really U.S. soccer fans, but were soccer fans to watch and all that stuff. So I know his story a little bit, but pretty much anyone in sports who disagrees with the groupthink, and the groupthink right now is that athletes need to be politically engaged and we need to know what they think about political issues. And if you disagree with that, then the crowd wants to muzzle you. Now, the way I look at this, Zlatan is 100% correct, right? Just because you're good at one thing doesn't mean you're an expert at another. Now, the athlete community is very sensitive to this, right? But I look at this the same at anything in life. I use what I call the Fettuccine Alfredo test, right? And what that is just because you happen to make a mean bowl of pasta does not mean that I want you to fly an airplane that I'm sitting in the back of, right? Does not mean that. And if you're really, really good at math, really good at math, that does not mean that you have the skill to put up drywall, right? Do you understand what I'm saying? So Zlatan is being pummeled right now in the world of algorithms and bots and trolls and all that. It's blood in the water, right? He's being painted as a firebrand, revolutionary. And this story has actually blown up in that little world like a mushroom cloud. And it's the phrase we often use, you can't handle the truth. Cyber pit bulls and piranhas are frothing at the mouth, trying to get a piece of the soccer star, trying to rip apart the Z out of Zlatan. They're trying to take him out there. So they're very upset. And belittling him, the usual insults. He's a foreigner. What does he know? All that stuff. He's irrelevant, as the naive often do in these situations. And where have we seen this before? Where have we seen this kind of thing? Well, pretty much the last 2 years, certainly the last year. This has been standard operating procedure. Now, the bad news here, and it is unfortunate news for the angry mob with their faux outrage. How dare you say anything about LeBron James and these athletes? But, well, Zlatan is not American. He's not in America. So the same tools that are used to shut up other critics do not apply. The cancel culture, I don't believe it's going to work in Italy. I don't think these comments are going to be seen and shamed in Italy. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this will be proven correct, and we'll never hear this guy again, and Zlatan will go away. And but I believe you're going to have to go back to the drawing board if you're trying to cancel him because of these particular comments, which were pretty benign. He gave his opinion, and there's no room, as I said, for anything other than groupthink. Now, secondly, so why do athletes, this is a question we've asked a lot, certainly the last couple of years, why do athletes often feel empowered that they are the moral compass on social and political issues? It is a complicated story, but the driving force I've always believed is the bubble. And we'll use LeBron James as an example because the question that was asked to Zlatan was about LeBron. LeBron, and it's not just him, it's every top-notch athlete, and for that matter, entertainer. We live in Hollywood here in L.A. We do the show from L.A. where all the celebrity crowd hangs out. But there's this bubble. It's like a parallel universe. Now, for context, if you have enough money and you're very successful, you've done well for yourself, like LeBron James and these others, then you've got a lot of mansions. I think LeBron's got a home. I know he's got one obviously in California, Ohio, Florida, likely elsewhere. Well, good for you. But as a result, you're also insulated from reality, right? You're surrounded by a bunch of meathead private security guards. And it's usually the Hollywood crowd's the same thing. They want to get rid of the police, but they hire armed security guards to protect them. But these guys, the celebrity class, and I'm including athletes along with Hollywood, they're not the people that can relate to the normal hoi polloi that's out there. They certainly don't pay your bills. And I've never turned to an actor or an athlete to find out what I should think about anything. I haven't. I guess there's some that do, but generally speaking, when you're inside the bubble, the way I've seen it over the years is that you're so far into the woods when you get to a certain level of celebrity and a certain level of fame. You're surrounded by these people. It's like an echo chamber, and you're so far into the woods you can't see the Sherwood forest for the trees, right? As a rule of thumb, I've just never needed to know what my favorite actor or my favorite athlete thinks about a political situation. And I just don't. And so from that standpoint, obviously I agree with the comments by Zlatan here. And he's getting just destroyed for this. And the other thing I've noticed in recent years is that the people that are part of the political parties, and it's not just Team Blue or them, it's Team Red, both sides use celebrities and athletes as pawns in the political machine. Right? These are surrogates that they bring in here to spread the gospel about what they think is the right about any kind of issue that they're talking about. And so you've got these situations that pop up. And then the other problem is it's the Pandora's box. Like LeBron looks like a total weasel when he's very politically engaged, and then all of a sudden just wants to shut up and dribble when it comes to China, and that's the issue and the situation there, and he just has nothing to say about that, just zips his lips because that's where his money is made. And so when you play in that playground, when you play in the political playground, and then you pick and choose your spots, well, you've opened yourself up. Now, the final thought here. The golden rule, all right, the golden rule, when you're someone that's got clout, and this is anything in entertainment, whether it's Hollywood or, for that matter, athletes, whatever, the goal is to not alienate your audience, right? Because the hardest thing is to get people to follow you in anything, right? In any walk, it's hard to get people to follow you. And say what you want about Michael Jordan, and people have said plenty. Michael Jordan never said a political thing the entire time he was playing in the NBA in his glory days with the Chicago Bulls. It was his airness. He had a very simple battle cry. Very simple. And it's been repeated, and it was in that documentary. Republicans buy sneakers too, right? And it was a throwaway line. It was said, as a joke, but it stood the test of time. And so when you look at what Zlatan said and you say, well, he's talking about LeBron, but he's talking about athletes in general, LeBron James will eventually have every individual mark in the NBA record book. Pierce is going to keep playing until he plays with his kids, so he's several more years. LeBron will continue to play, and good for him. If he stays healthy, he'll have every record. But he will never be as beloved as Michael Jordan, in large part because of LeBron's work as a political operative. Right? And the reason is that there are large groups of people that every time I bring LeBron up, he is polarizing beyond polarizing, but not your typical sports polarizing. It's a different level of polarizing for those that both love LeBron and those that can't stand LeBron because of the rhetoric. That's a cold, hard fact. And now, listen, I get it. If you're on the side, you love LeBron, you worship him, you're a jock sniffer, and then you're like, well, the politics, I don't mind that at all. Or if you agree with it, obviously that's always the issue with politics. Like, and I'm no different. Like if somebody says something I agree with politically, I'm like, oh, I love that. But in the other side, you're like, oh, I hate that. So if you keep it out, you don't have to have those thoughts. And so that's where we are in this Zlatan story. He opened up a hornet's nest here, and you end up driving a wedge. Though I think the proof is in the pudding right now in the NBA. We have seen. And not just the NBA, but all the U.S. sports leagues went full woke the last year here. They've all seen across-the-board ratings declines. Even the NFL was down 7% this past season. But the NBA took things to the next level. The NBA went totally overboard. They got carried away with all their little slogans and all that stuff to pacify the wokerati. And they attempted this season to try to unring the bell as much as possible. Now, they still do certain things, but the slogans are gone on the court, on the jerseys and all that stuff. That's all gone away. They've gone back to the traditional look for an NBA game. And the reason they don't like to talk about this is because the bankers and the bureaucrats, the people that are in management and the people that run the bean counting, noticed the bottom line was not doing so well. That this was not resonating. And they blamed that, some of the decline, on what they had been doing. And so They've gone back and tried to, as we said, unring the bell. And so Zlatan is wise beyond his years there. The global soccer star who's really long in the tooth himself. He's even older than LeBron James at this point.